Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Reginald the Vampire, Season 2, Episode 3. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So first and foremost, we're picking up in the aftermath of last episode with Balestro's announcement that, hey, the vampire race has 30 days, and now everyone's scrambling. Well, I say everyone, but the only, LeBron and them know about the Angel last episode, but who knows if they're going to say anything. They're probably going to spend the entire time running for their lives because Maurice and them didn't bother bringing it out because, like, hey, we don't let anyone else in the vampire community know about this. So our trio of Reg, Maurice, and Angela are the only ones in the know, which is a lot in itself. But it's like, well, we know What's-Her-Face and LeBron know the truth. But once again, they're probably just so busy running that they haven't bothered talking to anyone else. They're just going to disappear. I don't know. But either way, they're trying to find out, well, how do we deal with this situation? Trying to find a way around it. And so they go to Altus. It's like, right, he brought us this information, which we still don't know how he got access to this information, how he knew that Balestro was coming, and the declaration about, like, you have a limited amount of time. So, because obviously they're like, well, it's got to be like your Incubus network, but like, how did the Incubus know, like, what are like Incubus's relationship with angels? Like, how did, like, are they tapped into like that divine airway or something for them to know? Like, how do they know what they know? Really didn't get any further on that because Alestris was not really being forthcoming, but he gave them the idea. It's like, right, they're coming after you because you guys are unmoving. You're unchanging. That's what you're being punished for. That's what he's going to come and you're screwed. There's no changing that. Unless the vampire species shows that it can change. So that's Reginald's idea. Like, right, we find a vampire and show them, like, right, we are capable of change. Which, that in itself is such an interesting thing. And I think I brought this point up last episode. I don't know why Balestro's pointing out vampires, considering, like, everything you're, like, saying vampires are guilty of being destructive, being monstrous. It's like, humans are just as capable, but it's like, in his eyes, humans still do so much more good. Their good outweighs the bad. That's not the case with the vampires. He's just like, they are purely a destructive breed, whereas humans, yes, some are destructive, but not all. You know, some shouldn't define all, whereas, like, on the flip side of things, Reginald is different amongst the vampires, but he doesn't define all of them. Just because you might be good doesn't mean the rest of your species is. Because obviously he came to Reginald first and foremost, so I don't know if this is some big declaration of, oh, I'm leaving it up to Reginald to decide the fate of the vampires. Can he show that they are more, like, am I going to push him into being the person he needs to be? Destiny sets him out to be the one who's going to bring change amongst the vampire species. Like, is he thinking that far ahead? It could be a thing of basically, you know, God works in mysterious ways, so he gave this mission to Balestro, but it's also because Balestro's part in this is supposed to be Reginald's journey. Like, not unless that's what it is, or Balestro's like, no, I'm not doing this like, oh, this is some, like, reverse psychology to push you to be better, you know? I mean, it could all be a test anyway. It's like, oh, so I pushed you to see whether or not you pass or fail. I wasn't gunning for, like, trying to see if you actually would. Like, I'm trying to push you to pass. It's like, no, I put you in an impossible situation and I wanted to see how you'd react, you know? Because the way Altus, I keep messing up his name, Altus was talking is, that's like, yeah, this is just like angel theater. He could have wiped them all out now, but it's like, well, you got to give you a chance. It's very like, it's all performance, and it's just kind of like, right, for the theater of it all, you got to give the vampires a warning. It's like, right, kind of call your shot from, like, far away, be like, 30 days, I'm going to bring down heaven's judgment across the vampire species. Like I said, I don't know. We'll see if there's more to it, or whether it's just a simple, like, nah, I hate this species, you're disgusting, you're vile, you're blood-ridden, just like, you deserve to die. You had plenty of time to change, and you didn't. Just because there's one amongst you that's a little different doesn't excuse the rest of the species. So we'll see how that situation plays out, but the vampire in question of who are we going to change is Angela, which involves Angela moving in with Reginald. Makes sense. She has nowhere. I mean, it's like, well, you'd also think, well, you'd think she'd move in with Maurice, but it's like, well, she already has to, like, be here with Reginald as he attempts to change her. Like, Maurice wasn't too keen on the idea, didn't think this would really work, and Angela's kind of like, it's definitely not going to work. And so Reginald's attempts do not work because his whole point is trying to teach her kindness. And he's like, yeah, kindness can beat anything. But she's like, no, like Angela's the way she is because the world is the way it is. It's not all good. It's not all nice and fun. It's like, yeah, I've run it. Like when you have experiences with the world being terrible, of course that's going to make you jaded. Like Angela became the person she is because it's like all these people tried to hurt me or kill me, and so I killed them first, and I got enjoyment of ripping out their hearts and eating it. Because Angela became the way she did because the world was cruel to her. So it's like, oh, it's that vicious cycle of, well, the world was cruel, so I'm going to become cruel. Who Angela was before was probably taken out of her. Like, obviously, we kind of dabble into, well, I don't know if that's 100% just Reginald's thought of, oh, maybe this stems with mom issues. I don't really remember us diving too deeply into Angela's past last season. I mean, obviously, in conjunction with Maurice's past before he became a vampire, and in his days early days as a vampire. But I'm like, beyond that, like, I don't think we really touched on Angela in the past much, like her past. Maybe we did, I'm just not remembering correctly. But Angela, once again, is not taking this whole thing seriously and refusing to change and in any shape or form. It's like, I'm going to just stay me, which there's a larger through line, which we're going to get to in a second. But I love Reginald's attempt to make her a better person. Like, you could tell he was fed up because everything was Sarah that was going on, plus Angela's little snide comments. He's like, well, fine. You're not going to listen. Fine. I try to handle things that way. I try to do, Henry James. I tried to do Blade Runner. Screw it, I'm going to do it this way. And he proceeds to glamour her and basically made her into Sarah. Because at first, with the way she was dressed, I was like, isn't she dressed like Sarah? It's like, and even Maurice is like, yeah, you try to make her into Sarah, which he's like, do you know how disgusting that is? Like, that is kind of jacked up. It's like, Maurice and Angela don't know what that relationship is. It's like, we're probably not going to define it, but it's like, it's kind of weird because where you and Sarah are currently, to kind of put that on someone else, because in a twisted way, it's almost like making Angela into Sarah just so you can have Sarah around. And also in his mind, it's like, right, Sarah, it's like, oh my god, everything about Sarah is great and perfect, so like she could be the perfect representation. But it's like, yeah, like first and foremost, it is effed up. Regardless of your reasoning, you are still taking away Angela's free will, which is super messed up. I mean, that's what the larger conversation was with Altus was about. Like, right, their free will, that's also something like the angels can't predict. They're not omniscient. They can't see everything. So free will is their blind spot. Humanity's and vampires and Earth's like free will in general is their blind spot. So you can use that to your advantage. But yeah, turned Angela back into herself. And this ties in also to the serial killer storyline. I was like, I don't know if I knew that. I was like, I don't know if that came across. At first, I was like, could it be Angela? But then it was kind of like, no, Angela seemed normal. So I was like, I guess not. And then the reveal of, oh, it was Angela, which is like kind of going back to the point I was bringing up before about Angela just being Angela and refusing to change. She starts going on a killing spree because she's like, right, this is how I've survived. I've done whatever it takes. I've done whatever I needed to survive, and now I'm feeling helpless. So she's angry and lashing out. So she's like, right, if I'm going to die anyway, I might as well go out being myself. Because Altus was like, yeah, you have two alternatives. You either like take yourself out, which Angela would never do anyway, or you could just wait for judgment to come to kill you. But it's like, until that day, until we get to that 30-day mark, I'm just going to do me. You know, and it's because for the first time, in probably a long time, it's probably since becoming a vampire, she's felt helpless. Because I think for so much of her life as a vampire, she felt powerful and she would never let anyone have power over her again. But now it's like, I can't do anything. It's a freaking angel. Like, he literally effortlessly froze Maurice, and it's like, how do you fight something like that? And so she just wants, it's like, if I have to do it in blood and death, like, so be it. I'm just going to be me. I'm not going to let anyone tell me who I'm going to be. Which Maurice is like, I get it, I'm angry too. So he's a little more understanding of why Angela's doing what she's doing. And so it's kind of, I mean, it's the most effed up way to go about it, dropping bodies left and right like that. But it's also like, yeah, it's just like, once again, they're the only three amongst the vampire community that really knows what's going on, and knowing, like, and especially when you think about how she acted in Reginald's place, it's like she acted so fine while she's like, because she's trying to pretend to still be herself, so cool, calm, and collected, but seeing her break down like that, crying, and it's just like, yeah, it's a heavy burden to bear, knowing like, right, your time is literally running out. I mean, especially as vampires, you think you have all eternity, and now it's like, right, I have 30 days. 28, maybe 27 by the, I think it's like, because they go to 28, but it's like maybe like 27 or 26 by the end of the show. I mean, by the end of the episode. So, you've got less than a month now, and just like every minute is a minute closer to the end. So, it's a lot. Then you tie that in conjunction with Sarah's storyline, where, Ashley's off, they're helping Nikki, which we'll circle back to. So there's all of that, and then there's the whole situation of Sarah's personal angel being nearby, because Reginald was told not to tell her anything, because it's like, you're going to end up telling her that part of, like, half of her friends are going to end up dead, so you kind of don't want to do that, especially why present a problem when you don't have a solution yet? Especially but it's like, all of this would have been better hearing from Reginald. Sarah needed it, she deserved it, but and he wanted to, but Maurice is the one that convinced him it wasn't the right thing to do. And for Reginald, it's like, here I am again lying to her, and she knows that Reginald's lying and hiding stuff from her. She just doesn't know what. And then all of a sudden, him ghosting her, it's like, to be fair, he's not paying attention to his phone because he's too busy trying to save the vampire species, but he's not letting her know. It's like, wait, why is Angela staying with me? Wait, is she wearing my bathrobe? It's like, yeah, you might have left that here and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, this is the same woman that glamored me to try and kill you, right? It's like, yeah, but I mean, she's apologetic about that. She's like, not really. It's like, oh God, Angela, making that worse and worse. And it's just like, be honest with me. And he couldn't. He's like, can we talk about this later? I've just got a lot on my mind right now. And that's just the thing for her, where it feels like, I'm kind of like handling so much on my own. Like, even she's having a crisis of faith, because she's like, I believe Altus, like, what if angels are real? And now, once again, it's that debate of the thing that she was raised to believe that she thought was BS, she pushed back against when it came to her family, but now it's like, it is real, so what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? And the sad thing is, whereas Reginald was so busy trying to help out the vampire race, he wasn't there for Sarah when she needed him, in a lot of ways, because it's like, hey, like, she's the only one working because Todd's off doing his thing. Ashley takes time off because of Nikki, which Reginald was like, I thought I was off because I thought Ashley came into work, but apparently not. So she was doing all that on her own, and her fellow angel showed up, which he has a very positive perspective on Reginald, because he's like, you're so smart, the way of the world, because like Reginald was like, yeah, love makes the world go round, and it's like, really, it's so insightful, go on. But he has watched Sarah enough that her angel's like, I can, and I'm blanking on his name. They probably said it, but I'm blanking on it. But, it's very poetic that I keep referring to him as Sarah's angel, because he is acting as her guardian angel. But yeah, he helps out with the slushies and stuff. And did I say smoothies in the last episode? I think I said smoothies instead of slushies. I think I said that last episode. I just thought about that. Even though it's been a while since I watched the last episode, I'm sitting here thinking, like, I kept referring to them as smoothies last episode, didn't I? Either way, I haven't had a slushie since, like, it can't have been middle school, because, like, the middle school I went to for 8th grade had a slushie machine. I'm like, it can't have been that long since I've had one, has it? Because I've never, no, I was like, I mean, I've had, I don't know, like, ices are kind of slushy, so I'm like, I've definitely had one. I definitely have. I was about to say, like, I completely forgot about that. I was like, man, I hadn't thought about that in forever. It's like, yeah, we used to have those slushy machines in my middle school. That's kind of wild. God forbid, nevertheless, I'm putting all that aside to, I went on a massive tangent, sorry. But that ends up being a complicated conundrum at the end of the episode. Maurice gave Reginald the cosign to go ahead and tell Sarah everything, because he talked about how much, like, he loved her, that from the moment, like, he remembers the first time they met, the first time they kissed, the first time they slept in the same bed together, because for him it's like he has a very, like, perfect memory. It isn't just about his vampire abilities, it's always been that way for her, like, when it comes to Sarah, like, he loves her so much. And it's just like, yeah, it's like trying to figure, that's why the whole trying to be friends thing is complicated. It's like, yeah, it's just a lot of stuff got in the way, and it's like, I don't want to lie to her anymore. That's why it stuck so much, because it's like, this is the person I love and I care about. She means a lot to me, and I don't want to lie to her, especially with something this important. But that's the conundrum where it's like, right, when Reginald's ready to tell her the truth, lo and behold, who ends up being honest with her first? Her angel. So now that kind of, like, if anything, it's going to complicate things, because Right. When Reginald wasn't honest with her, he was. He was here helping her and being there for her, in the long run. And he also told her the truth where Reginald has lied to her. This isn't the first time. He's lied to her before. And now it's just like, right. Like, you couldn't be honest with me. Especially at a point where she feels like she can't let go. She's like, I'm holding Reginald to the standard of who he used to be. And that was my person. And that's not who he is anymore. And it's like, it is, but it's just like, there's a lot kind of thrust upon him. And yeah, just, there's a lot where you're like, oh, that weird guy that wanted advice from me is an angel. And he's revealing himself to Sarah. And now it's like, well, shit, I was trying to reveal all that. So where does that leave them? Like I said, it's going to complicate things more for him and Sarah. And even if he tells her the truth now, it's like, well, you're telling me the truth after the fact. He had the honesty to tell me. So it's like, will Reginald be like, yeah, but the angels are going to try and kill us all? And then, like, I mean, he could still be an ally because he's not, like, all about this like Balestro is, because he likes this world. So, and he looks to Reginald as like, oh, you're insightful. Like, he knows Reginald's a vampire. So I don't know. I'm curious to see where that goes. And then finally, we also have the Ashley and Nikki side of things, where Nikki had that nightmare where Sarah's angel pulled out her tooth, which I was like, how does that work for vampires in this continuity? Can they grow their teeth back once they're gone? Is it like a human of like, no, once your tooth is gone, it's gone. Like, well, now that you're like, it's like your adult teeth, once your baby teeth are gone and your other teeth grow in, it's like, yeah, because of that, these are only vampire teeth you get. They don't regenerate. I don't know. But then she wakes up and in her reflection, she sees, which I'd actually completely forgot. I was like, wait, vampires can see the reflection in this guy? Obviously, like, because season 1 came out in 2022, so it'd been a hot minute, so I don't remember the vampire rules of this story, because it's been a hot minute since I saw season 1. I was like, well, you have reflections in this? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But she's kind of going a little crazy because, like, Ashley's staying with her, making sure she's okay, but she's like, are you going to tell me everything? But she's like, I got to keep my promise. I'm not going to tell you anything, Despite her and Ashley being in a complicated spot, Ashley still wants to be there for her because she cares about Nikki. But Nikki ends up going to Sarah's angel and asking him about all of this. So, like, the nightmare she's having, what's happening to her face. It's like she's rotting, and it's like, yes. I figured it had to be like, right, it's the cosmic consequences for killing an angel. And it's like, well, you should have told me beforehand. It's like, well, yes, but it was important for this to get done, and he couldn't really do it because who knows what the ramifications for an angel killing an angel will be, which we might find out in the future, because I'm assuming he's going to be the one that potentially could end up killing Balestro, which we do know swords can work on angels, but he's kind of like one of the first 7, as Reginald put, so it's like he might be like archangel status, where it's like that might not be enough. So either Reginald wielding the sword, Maurice wielding the sword, or maybe Sarah's angel wielding the sword is the only one who would probably be able to put him down, maybe. Who knows how that's going to play. It's at least a decent enough weapon. Granted, the one dead angel is gone along with his weapon, so it's not like you can use that. What happens to an angel when it dies? Does it just disappear from existence, or does it kind of, what is an angel's life cycle? Does it kind of reincarnate? Where does that energy go? Does it completely disappear? Does it transfer to something else? Does it return to God? Stuff like that. So, but his advice for her was that basically it can be healed, but you have to basically deserve healing or something like that, which I was like, oh, it's just kind of like, once again, Lucifer and hell in the show. Well, in the show Lucifer, how hell is like, no, hell is of your own making. You can leave hell and escape hell and go to heaven, but only if you finally let go of your guilt, because your guilt is what's driving you. And it seems like that ends up being the solution, because the way Ashley puts it later on, it's like, oh, like maybe healing is like love. It's not a matter of deserving it or being deserving of it. It's just kind of it's basically more of an accepting it thing, because she ended up apologizing to Ashley, and I figured that's what this was about. Her guilt was, I made a promise to you because being a killer is who I am, and this is all kind of new to me, and the fact is that I always tried to protect someone, But I was kind of trying to do the right thing. But killing is something I've done for a very, very long time. I've lived for a long time. I've done a lot, and it's like, right. But I promise you, I won't do it again unless like your life is in danger, and then like, yeah, I'll be straight to killing somebody in order to protect you. But it's like, yeah, it's like Nikki's trying, and it's like that's what her guilt stems from. It's like I made a promise to you, and I broke that promise, and I know you might look at me a certain way now because of that. But Ashley forgives her. It's like, and that's what she needed to hear. It's like, oh, like, because she was rotting because she was like, oh, like, because you saw me. The look in your eyes when you saw me kill that angel last episode without you realizing it's an angel because she still hasn't been filled in on everything. So it's like, right, Ashley says that she loves her and that they love Nikki and Nikki loves them in return, which is fair. I was like, oh, that's really sweet. I'm kind of glad. I was like worried that like that was because we hadn't last time we caught up to them was when Ashley caught Nikki killing the angel, and so we had last episode we didn't catch up with them at all. So it's kind of nice to see things are in a better spot, post all of this. So it's gonna be interesting to see the continuation of that relationship as Nikki, tries to better herself. I mean, I think that's probably the thing. Reginald is so focused on Angela, not recognizing like without his own involvement, the Nikki thing is happening over here to the side of her trying to be a better person for Ashley's sake. So the ultimate plan now is like, right, we're going to find a way to fight against the angels, which we know there is weapons that can kill the angels, their own swords, but that in conjunction with what's going on with Nikki and Ashley might also secretly be the solution. I don't know if that's going to be a viable option on that front from Reginald's perspective or not. It's going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. Obviously, I'm getting to this fairly late. There's still 2 more episodes already out because of how long it's taken me to get to this, so but I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.